Michael Afton is the closest thing that Five Nights at Freddy's has to a main character. And because FNAF is insane, we're not even sure what games you play as him. But because it's FNAFtober, I will try my best to explain his story and say what we are mostly sure about. 1983. Michael's dad wasn't home a lot. His sister was nowhere to be seen, and his mother probably isn't around anymore. He felt abandoned. And a teenager with no supervision is gonna make some terrible mistakes. So when his dad told him he had to watch his brother instead of hanging out with his cool new friends, Michael was angry, filled with angst. And as a kid with no understanding of his emotions, he took it out on his little brother. Evan was different, weak, soft, emotional. His only friends were plushies, and he cried all the time. And because William was such a terrible father, Michael only knew how to torment people. After 5 days hiding around the house and jumping out to scare his brother, after locking him in the robot workshop, even though he was afraid of them, Michael thought that maybe he was going a bit too far. But when his friends convinced him to grab his brother, things got out of hand. And what was supposed to be innocent teasing from a troubled teen became a murder. His brother was dying. His father was furious. More furious than he ever was. Michael tried to tell his brother he was sorry, but he never knew if he got through to his brother. He didn't know if he heard him, but Evan was gone. The next few years were rough, and Michael's dad was cruel and drunk and bitter. Michael's memory became very sparse. The endless nightmares and long nights locked inside took their toll on him. When Michael thought about his past, he wasn't sure what happened. Everything was vague. Some nights he dreamt of a strange house at night, horrible nightmare animatronics, but he couldn't figure out who was trapped there. Was it him? His brother? Some random other kid? He wasn't sure, but things were strange. A few years later, Michael wanted to help his father. As cruel as he was, Michael and him were a lot alike. He looked like a carbon copy of his dad, and despite his dad's bouts of rage and drunk driving, he seemed calmer lately. His dad was always so busy, spending days in his office. Michael got used to the microwave and the new bars on his windows. The restaurants were closed and open and reopened. It was all so hard to keep track of. His brother was dead, and his sister had her accident, and he was all alone. He did whatever he could to make his dad happy. So when his dad was stuck in jail, he did exactly what he asked. Find your sister in my office. Put her back together. Michael was confused. He thought Elizabeth went missing years ago, but he found his father's hidden room, a bunker behind a bookcase in his office, an elevator, and a strange robotic assistant. The robot thought that Michael was working there. Everything was so strange. Why would someone work under his house, under the whole neighborhood? He could swear he saw the house from his nightmares on the camera feed. There was a sound of strange gas coming from the vents around the bunker. Everything seemed so futuristic, and none of it made any sense. What was his dad doing down here? There was a robot that looked like his mom, a clown that talked like his sister. It was so weird seeing them next to Freddy characters. After 5 nights of work, he learned the truth. His sister was a machine now. Her mangled body stuck and shattered in a metal shell, her voice mimicked by a robotic voice box. Michael wasn't even sure if it was her, but he helped her. He was gonna free all these living robots underground, help them escape from this nightmare chamber. After a confusing few days, Michael had found his worst nightmare. It was all a lie. His body was ripped open, and he was injected with a hot metal liquid. The scooper took his insides out, and the robots found their lifeboat. The gas from the vents clouding his mind, Michael suffered as these living metal tubes puppeteered him, just like his father was doing. He did everything his dad asked, and he blamed himself. But now he knew all this pain, it was William's fault. Michael was just a puppet to him. When the metal snakes forced their way out of him into the sewer, he laid broken and wet in the gutter, waiting for death to finally come, but it never came. That metal in his veins, that pure pain, the agony and remnant of lost souls injected into him. It made him immortal, a rotting corpse. He made a vow that day. If he couldn't die, he would stop his father once and for all. He would find him. Michael spent decades searching for his father. William was never convicted for the murders. The cops just lit him out onto the streets. And no matter what Michael did, he couldn't find him. From Freddy's to Freddy's, he showed up. He looked for evidence of his father, tampered with the animatronics, and burnt it down to the ground. He was angry, and he had to find him. And that's where we'll end this one. I'm Maloney the Bard, and I left a lot out. FNAF is complicated. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye. Whew. I think that turned out pretty good. Michael goes through a lot in this series. And rather than trying to explain everything, I thought that was a good stopping point. I debated making a video just about Elizabeth instead, but since I only have 4 weeks to talk about all this stuff, you know, 2 birds with 1 stone. But we're already halfway through FNAFtober, that's wild. FNAF is some fertile ground. Probably gonna talk about it more eventually. Anyway, for the last few weeks, I've been streaming for Spooky Month over on my Twitch. Twitch.tv/AloniTheBard. It's been pretty nice. I've been playing a bunch of stuff. I just beat Scorn right before this recording. It was kind of disappointing at the end, to be honest. But I'm really excited to be playing. I'm playing all the Dark Anthology games. So like if you ever heard of Until Dawn, it's like a choose your own adventure horror movie simulator. And apparently they made a bunch of them. And I have them all, I guess. So you should come on by and, you know, scare me with the free sound alerts I got. I'm actually really glad a lot of people have been watching. I hope that people actually watch this full video. I mean, it's one thing to click on a new title that isn't about Kingdom Hearts, but it's a whole other thing to watch the next video. Anyway, bye.